Alright, welcome back to another breakdown video. I'm Hyfudiar, and today I'll be breaking down my track Kids and the Lurking Shadow. So, I'd say this is my favorite track recently, and is the track I most frequently share with people when introducing them to my music, because it encompasses a lot of the various things I like. The first half is this kind of ambient, relaxing, but also still a little edgy part, and then it transfers into this noisy hellscape. Even if you don't really like one of them, at least there's something in here for you. But this is a pretty complex track. Let's see. Yeah, so I think what started it was this.
August 3rd.
Wednesday, August.
Is it where you came from? That's where you're going to counts.
Is it where you came from? Wait, what?
Isn't where you came from?
I'm sorry. What's going on here?
So, I got my newer recorder, the Zoom H1N. I don't know if I've talked about it before, but I have the Zoom H1N and the Zoom, what is it called? The Zoom 3D VR or something like that. That one is really good for recording spaces, or just kind of like environments. Whereas the H1N is better for, recording like a specific thing. Shortly after I got it, I went over to visit my family, who I spend time with on the weekends, and I forgot the recorder there, and apparently my brother thought I had left it for him. I partially, the part of the confusion was I have the PO33 pocket operator, and I got one for my siblings as well, and so I gave that to them and left it there. So I think my brother thought I was leaving this for them as well, but in the time they had it before I got it back, he recorded a ton of stuff. And there's this one recording in particular that was him and my sister talking about something. I really have no idea what they were talking about. I think maybe my sister was doing school or something and was like reading a poem or something. I don't know, but it was just sort of this, I don't know, this sort of innocent chat that I liked, that was sort of indistinct and you couldn't really make out what they were talking about or what they were saying. So I thought that would be a good base for this track. Actually, so that technically wasn't the first thing I made these drums first. I was just at work. At my job, I usually have a couple hours each day where I don't really have anything to do, so I work on audio stuff in that time, and I was working on just making some drum patterns using the stock Ableton drums, which isn't something I usually do. I usually synthesize or record my own drums. But I'll get into those later because they don't come up at the start. Then after I had settled on this recording of my siblings, I started working on the drums and synths. So I made these 2 wavetable synths, which each have a good bit of processing. All right, yep. So let's see, here's what they sound like individually. I put a lot of heavy compression on this, side chaining to the kick. It's a very simple thing. I think it's in the key of F, I want to say, but I kind of started it off. Yeah, the bass note is a D. No, it's a C. I don't know. I don't really like do music stuff in that sense, really. Although I have been leaning into it a bit more recently. So I initially was just sort of making this chord, and then eventually like found what key it was in, and then branched it off into other chords that were in that key. But because I did it that way, they kind of start in a weird place. So here's the other one. Both of these have a lot of high end, so they're both filtered quite a bit. And then I made the drums. So these drums I made myself. Here's the kick, I think. And here's the snare. I was getting to really like these, really simple drums, like just a kick and a snare, pretty slow with, just a little bit of ping pong delay. I like how it adds to the ambience. Oh yeah, one other thing. So the recording I had of the kids was pretty short. So what I ended up doing was I just flipped it. I think I reduced the gain a little bit. Yeah. And automated the sample rate. Oh no, I guess I didn't. And I didn't automate the sample rate. I just had the signal completely dry at first, and then faded in the Redux. And I really, really like Redux. As you've probably noticed if you've listened to any of my stuff, I use Redux a lot. I think it's a very versatile effect. And I particularly like it for kind of, making something sound like it's degrading, like it's on a broken cassette. I also really like using it for censoring things. I could, like, if I'm censoring a name or something out of a recording, I could just probably not beep it out because that'd be pretty jarring, but I could just like mute it or whatever. But I like just having the sample rate drop to like 100 or something for the split second that word is said, and it kind of sounds like it got redacted. Sorry, the cat's using the litter pan. So I really like the way that sounds. I did recently get codec, which it's kind of similar. I haven't played around with it a whole lot yet. It's a pretty sweet effect.
Stop.
I haven't used it in anything yet, but I definitely will be at some point. This is very cool. It's a free plugin too, if you haven't seen it before. I think that's all there is to say about those. So this, the very start of the track, oops. So that's just the crackle from the start of a VHS. And then I took a little bit more of, there's a little bit more of this kind of crackle before the start of the VHS that I looped throughout the rest of this, or well, the first part anyway. Which leads right into the second part of the track. So I'm gonna pull this up. This is Dr. R.I.P. VHS. He finds all of these really obscure, weird VHSs at like the Goodwill dumping ground and records them and puts them up on YouTube. And he's an interesting character. I really like him. But I've been sort of watching his channel for a while, looking out for good things to sample. I believe I have used a sample from something he's uploaded before in another track, but I don't remember what. I pull a lot of samples from a lot of things. But it was just like at the point where I think I had pretty much just finished this whole first part that he uploaded this video, UFOs Are Real. I don't know if you can actually hear that. Might not be able to. And I was like, I gotta use this somehow. Like, it's this kind of informational. I don't know, like a Twilight Zone narrator going over this sort of like conspiratorial subject. I really liked it, so I wanted to use it somehow, and I left him a comment saying like, "Hey, I think we're gonna use this somehow," which he's said, he's been positive about in the past. So, yeah, I took that little noise clip. Then I have this. Now, when I had to pack this up and then transfer it over to this computer to record this. When I packed it up, this track was not active. And I do not know if I don't know if it was in the final version of the track or if I wanted it to be and it was deactivated or whatever. I think so, yeah, the main difference is that they're both using shifter, but this one is using a pitch shifter and this is using a ring mod. Or this is using ring mod. No, that's not using ring mod. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I didn't mean to use it. Maybe I used a vocoder. Seem to remember also. Oh, yeah, I forgot these have chains. Let's see. Oh, okay, yeah. So this is where I had a ring mod. Pitch shifter. And another pitch shifter, I guess. Yeah, I don't know what happened with this. I could have sworn I had a vocoder in here somewhere. I thought I had a voco. Oh, yes. I think it's on one of these. Yeah. So, that's right. Are both of them? Yeah. So, both of the synth tracks are vocoded with this one. So, this one is meant to be deactivated. Or they start being vocoded by it at a certain point, this kind of transition point. So you can hear those. They don't come through that much. It's kind of a distorted mess, but yeah, I wanted some way of incorporating the synths into the final half of the track. Gotta get the well, yeah, I'll show that in a second. So these are recordings or clips from this video, somewhere towards the middle of the video. I don't remember specifically where. But finding ways to transition between sections of tracks is always a little tricky, especially when it's as large of a change as the two halves are between this. So I started fading in the UFO recording I think it was around the start of when the Redux starts kicking in, these start coming in as well. And then I found this clip. It's somewhere in this clip, I believe.
The United States military knew of the reality of flying saucers and deliberately kept it a secret.
So I don't know. I think it worked pretty well as a way to transition just kind of this like ominous thing. Have a pretty slow ring mod on here to make it sound kind of grainy, and then drop the Redux as it goes to have that kind of redacted feel. Let's see.
It has no wings, no tail section, and no visible means of propulsion. Mr. Hansen also observed this object hovering stationary in the air before it began to move.
It's all kicking off there. I was trying to hear the what the difference was between sliding between these chains. Like a lot of my stuff, there are lots of tiny details like that. I mean, even listening to the track by itself, it's a pretty faint thing. And, in the finished track, I'm sure, if I just had this chain, it would probably sound the same. But I put a lot of details like that into the tracks. So I guess the first thing I started working on before I had even thought of this as a track, I was just like making drum patterns, so the drums. But the theme I wanted, I usually have some sort of theme in my tracks, whether it's like some limitation, I'm only using sounds from a specific source, or I got this new instrument, so I want to make a track featuring it, or whatever like that. So my theme was using sends, which is not something I had used before, I believe. I might have used them a tiny bit in one track, but I'm not sure. And I wanted to use sends to process separate signals together and have them distort each other. I think the original way I was doing this was layering the recording of my siblings over the drums and then sending them both into send A with heavy distortion and stuff, because I like the way, I can't pick out like any specific song that has done it, but times where guitar and vocals or drums and vocals are processed together with distortion, and you get this, it's kind of like a compressor that's like compressing the voice to whatever is under it, or vice versa sometimes. And I really like the way that sounds. And so that's what I was playing around with in this track. So I have this send that I believe after kind of as we get to like this transition point, I think everything gets sent there. Yeah, not 3 because that is short. And 7. Oh yeah, I'm not using those. Yeah, every track that is still running by that point, is getting sent into this and being all processed together. So got a delay, drum bus. I love the drum bus. Then one thing on overdrive, one on distortion with a filter, and then clip shifter, which is one of my favorite plugins. So what clip shifter does, if you don't know about clippers, is it's a specific form of distortion where, you know, if you think of like a waveform, like this. Oops. You think of a waveform, you have these peaks and valleys. What a clipper and things that peak up above the top get sort of cut off. And that causes clipping. That's why you don't want to, scream into a mic usually, unless you're making noise. So what a clipper does is it allows you to boost everything to an extreme level. So like all of these peaks are getting clipped off. So the waveform becomes something more like, like just square waveforms, because the top is just getting cut off. You don't have any smooth lines. It's just all getting chopped off. Like that, you see? So clip shifter is my favorite. I also have buzz cut, which is pretty good too, but I like clip shifter because it has kind of a visual representation of how things are getting clipped off. Yeah, that's the send. Now for the drums. Let's see. I'll disable these. Now, you can't really hear it in the finished track, but there are actually two separate patterns in this drum section. It starts out with this more relaxed kind of drum, and then turns into this more hectic pattern. I like this pattern a lot. I think it's entirely possible I'll use this pattern again at some point. Probably slowed down a bit and with a drum set of my own. I like this pattern. But with all the effects, that's what it sounds like. You see what I mean about how it's like the when it's all getting processed together, it's like you can kind of always hear the drums a little bit, but you only really hear them in points where the rest of the stuff getting processed through it is a bit quieter. So you have that kind of compression swell effect, but in a dirtier, grittier way. So I think I did a lot of automation on this one, I think. Oh, not that. Yeah. Oops. So I personally really like the way delays sound when you speed them up or slow them down. As I talked about for my what was it? What was the track I made? I'm gonna have to look it up. It's one of my most recent ones. That was very simple. Oh yeah, Cherry and Lemon Swirl. That track. I don't know. The little specific nugget I really liked in it was made with, bringing or speeding up the delay time quickly and then dropping it back down. So I really like the way that sounds. So I was messing around with that a lot in this. I want to say there was some problem I had where I wanted to automate things. Oh, I think it was, yeah. I wanted to record all these, all this modulating of the delay manually, which you can normally do. I think with this, and then arming it and recording. That's what I did for the Cherry and Lemon Swirl. But I found out you can't do that on a Send channel unless there's something I'm missing, which I kind of doubt because I read the entire Ableton manual after I bought it, but there's a lot in that manual, so it's possible I missed it. But from what I saw, you couldn't record automation in a Send channel, so I had to do it all manually, which was a little annoying, but I think it worked out all right. The last thing I guess is I usually have some trouble like finding a way to end tracks. Some tracks, more like drone tracks I make, are I'll kind of not really end them because I'm kind of intending for it to be looped, so it doesn't really need to change much from the start to the end. But for this, I had things all kind of come together, get super compressed in the delay, super expanded, and then kind of slowly everything in the delay catches up again, and then speeds up, and then sort of fades out. So you hear that. I really like the way you can hear the voice quietly through in that kind of quiet section. like that ending. Yeah, I guess I'll talk briefly about this. The demon voice. So this is something I first made for inability to comply, my Jacob's Ladder song. Where I took a recording of the actual like footage of them doing these experiments on soldiers, and I put it through the Empress Zoya, and I don't remember the patch I made for it, but it was some, weird pitch shifty thing, and I discovered you can make this demon voice by layering a lot of like pitch shifted things on top of each other. So oh, okay, yeah, you can. I guess the chain does make a difference. So that's a pretty big difference. I want to hear this by itself. No, not that one.
Also, I did have occasion in 1951 to have 2 days of observation.
That's kind of weird. I think I just got to this point because, I had dropped this all the way down. I was like, let me take it even lower. I didn't even really think about why it would let you go into negative hertz, but I guess it just sounds the same as positive. Maybe the phase is just inverted or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's how I do the demon voice. I really like the demon voice. But yeah, I think that's about it. I really like this track. Yeah. I think that's about it. I am working on the horror soundscape. I also have an EDM track that I started working on a long time ago that I'm hoping to finish up soon. I'm hoping to go see the original Halloween in a theater this weekend, which would be pretty sweet because I haven't seen that, and I wanted to see it for getting ideas for my horror soundscape. So that'll be fun. And also I will be going back to Philadelphia soon, and I'll be making a track while I'm there with audio I record while I'm there, but I'm also going to be recording the entire trip start to finish. I'll have to split it across multiple recorders, but I'll have lots of sounds to use, so that will be a lot of fun. But I think that's about it. I hope you enjoyed. Let me see here. What would be the next track to do, going backwards? That witch crawled back out of that pool. That one would be kind of difficult because I made part of it in Sunvox on my other computer. I guess I could transfer it over. But it also mean I'd have to, start explaining stuff in Sunvox as well. But I might do that. I'm not sure. I would like to do February 20th, 2022 live in the Frozen Underpass. Because that's a very cool track that has a lot of stuff going on in it. I don't know. I'll have to see. I'd like to make more more track breakdowns retroactively, but I do come into limits where, I can't remember a lot of the development of these tracks, or I can't find the project files for them, or things are split up across multiple computers and stuff, so we'll see. But expect more to come eventually. All right, I'll see you.